Hey, what's up everyone? Tyler here with Secureteam. We have a new image, lunar image, of our moon, orbiter image actually, taken by one of the lunar orbiter satellites that were sent up to circle the moon and map it. And this image was sent to me by a friend and viewer from Germany who was looking over some moon photographs and found a very odd, towering structure on the surface, as well as some other anomalous objects down on the surface that definitely don't blend in with the rest of the rocks and craters and surroundings. So as we zoom in, you'll begin to see the main object and topic of this image, which is this massively white, and you can probably already see it as it sticks out, what I described in the title as what looks like almost a castle-like structure, as you're seeing here. And you can already, even from when you're really zoomed out, you can see the massively long shadows coming off of this thing, going across the moon's surface. Now look at this thing. It doesn't look like anything else in the image. And you can see it's highly reflective. The sunlight is glinting off of it. And as you can see from the rest of the surrounding craters, the sun is shining down from the left of the image. So the left inside rims of the craters are in darkness, and as you can see, the right inside rims of the craters are being hit by the sunlight as they are in view of the sun. And when you look at this object, it sort of has a C shape, as you're seeing, and there's another long object coming up out of it, as you're seeing here. And at first glance, you might look at this sort of circular C shape and think, well, that's just an edge of another crater. However, you would be incorrect, because as you look, and again reference the other craters to tell you exactly where the sunlight is coming from, if this were a crater, the wrong side of it is lit. Because remember, the sunlight's coming from the left. So if this were a crater, and this was a rim of a crater, we would see the right side being illuminated. Whereas in this structure, the left side is fully lit. And what that means is that this structure is towering high up off the ground and is being fully illuminated by the sun. And this is a very interesting structure. I haven't ever seen one quite like it in all of our videos and all of my years of research into these lunar structures and anomalies. And again, we've talked before many times in past videos about the structures and ruins in some cases that exist on the moon's surface, both on the near side and the far side, with which we never see. However, more of these structures are on the far side of the moon, which very coincidentally is the side that we never see. And by the way, there is no other moon in our solar system that rotates around a planet the way our moon does, only showing us one side. And there is no other moon in our solar system that even looks like our moon, or has the same characteristics. So our moon in itself is very enigmatic. But again, back to the image, and as we zoom in on this, and just bear with me because there's some other very strange objects in this image near this structure. We zoom in, and again, this is a very bright, shining object, which means it's highly reflective. Now, take that to what you want it to mean. Objects that are highly reflective tend to be metals. And as you're seeing, we have this C shape, which again is coming up off the ground, and you can see from how long the shadows are. If you look at some of the other objects, such as the rocks in this image, the shadows are not long. The longer the shadow, the higher off the ground the object is. So when you have a tower coming high off the ground, you are going to have a long, pointy shadow. Just as you're seeing with this large structure, there's actually multiple. The entire thing has a massive shadow with pointy edges on the end of this shadow, which is stretching thousands of feet across the lunar surface. And then I want to pull your attention to some other structures that were pointed out to me in the original image. And here is actually the original image with the markings. Now this is in German, so you may not understand, but basically you get the gist of it. The objects in question were circled for us to look at, and we first have this object here, which may be a boulder, but it does have some squarish characteristics to it. It looks a little bit too uniformly square for my liking, but nonetheless, it's another object that was pointed out. He also pointed out this crater here that looked to have some scattered objects around the rim of it. But again, it's subjective, and it could be more rocks and boulders. This is a common thing on the moon. You will have a lot of these scattered objects. But one other main object that I want you to turn your attention to is this object here that we're circling, and we will zoom in on this. And this object, in my opinion, is not a rock or a boulder, because as we zoom in and as you're seeing, this object looks metallic. It is highly reflective, and it is extremely smooth on its surface, as you're seeing. It's basically looks like an egg shape. And when you look at the rest of the rocks in this image, most of them are white, they're small, and the entire rocks are illuminated, whereas with this object here, you can see almost a perfect reflection of the sun glinting off of the left side of it. And it almost looks like a large, dark, metallic, egg-shaped object. And why this object, again, sparks my interest is because there was a very similar object like this found on Mars a few years ago. The image from that I will show you now. And you can see how it has a striking resemblance to the object we found on the moon. And, you know, we've also found an array of other objects also on Mars, from saucers on the edge of cliffs, as you're seeing in this image here. And that was an amazing find. You can actually see what looked like windows wrapping around the disc-shaped structure, and you can actually see the sunlight glinting off the metallic rim of this saucer. And we also found domes on Mars, as you're seeing in the image here. So there's an extremely amount of domed or circular metallic-shaped structures on both Mars and the moon. And if you don't believe me that there are even castle-like structures on the moon, I want you to take a look at this image here, which comes from the Apollo moon missions when we walked on the moon. And this is from Apollo image AS10-32-4822, and it's a handheld Hasselblad camera photograph of what has always been called the castle, which was this extremely bright, tall, and plainly visible, massive, towering castle that was seen sitting on the moon as they took pictures from the orbiter as they were approaching for their landing. And you look at the image yourself. I mean, look at it. This thing has pillars on it. This thing is massive, miles in height. And we know for a fact that NASA has edited out these towering structures on official NASA photos. They've blurred them out, as you're seeing in this image here. One of the many images where NASA has put a large square blur mark over these towers that are on the moon. So again, back to the main structure here. It's definitely a very interesting find. Now, I am not one to point to a rock on Mars or the moon and say, hey, that's an alien structure. I'm not one of those guys who just sees images in the clouds, but when I do see a structure that is sitting high above the ground with an extremely long shadow, which would indicate that it's an extremely tall structure that does not match the surrounding, which does have almost what looks like an intelligently constructed set of characteristics, I have to scratch my head and call it out. So again, it's very interesting. Special thanks to the viewer who sent this to me. And, of course, we want to know what you guys think, so feel free to check out this image yourself. We will put the download link to this image in the video description, and you can blow it up yourselves and take a look. It's an amazing find. I definitely think we have something here. These structures on the moon do exist. I have seen them countless times. I have heard the testimony from former official NASA employees, as well as former military employees who worked during the Apollo missions, who have seen the raw film images that were taken of the moon and have exposed NASA for deliberately editing these structures out. So, again, open your mind up. Watch our past videos on the moon and the structures we found there. I think you're in for a big awakening. So again, let me know what you guys think. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, stick right here with Secureteam, and we'll see you back soon with another video. Stay safe, guys.